This is how you know how tapped in Hollywood is. This is E.T. Um, I skipped some parts, but this caught my attention because Elliot, L-E-It, is giving E.T. Eminem Reese's PC. We can see that the name Elliot is really compound. E-L-L is dealing with the Elohim. Liat, meaning the origin derived from the Hebrew origin, which is French, signifying my God is Yahweh, which confirms that E.T. is really a melanated being, the L's, or the Elu, connections to El, Liat. The T simply represents likened to the cross. That the T shape is acting as a boundary marker between the human world and the spiritual realm. In Mesopotamian, Mesoamerican, Southwest, U.S.C, ancient, often seen in doorways, right? It says the T shape is linked to the Maya, right? So in essence, we see that the T shape represents to classify as being one having the ability to enter different realms. If you know, in ancient times, the T represents likened to the cross, but a portal, tri formation. Right? To go up the stairs, he back up, and at the doorway, you know what that word say? Netter. You know what a netter is, right? Google N-E-T-E-R. The netters, the netteru is the ancient ones, the gods, right? It goes to show you that they're very tapped in. Or also can imply that Elliot is of the netter bloodline, you see, which can explain the reason why he's wearing this red. But notice the lamp, the light, and the green plants in the room. Well, hey, if you know, you know. You'll notice on ET, you'll notice that their heart chakras are linked. You see, of our collective, we are all connected. Not all of us have our hearts illuminated where we are connected by that heart chakra. And this also confirms, as you move on, you'll notice that Earth is a planet of resources. See? It's a planet of resources. As you can see, the greenery. You'll notice E.T. two fingers connecting to this plant and uprooting it from the earth. But it's to show that extraterrestrial beings came, as it's speaking, the Mesopotamian was dealing with Enki, Enlil, and Anu coming to Earth and starting a civilization and creating humankind. You see E.T. little fingers. To confirm their connection, you're going to notice E.T.'s father, parents, or his race heart communicating to him from a distance that, man, we finna leave. And you're going to notice its stomach glow. See? I had the volume down. And then watch. Then E.T. receives here. Stop. There it go. There's the giveaway. I'm not making this up. They're leaving codes in plain sight. Research the circle disc, or the circle with the dot in the middle. That represents Ra/Re. And again, this black spaceship. But how many of y'all notice the pointy hat like wizards and witches have. You see? And it kind of also resembles kind of like Pac-Man, you know? Or the ghost, I should say. You know, the circle part of the ghost with a pointy hat, like the witches of old, or I should say, the witches of the modern time. Then as we can see, this spaceship lifting off the ground. Black, or I should say, dark matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lights illuminating. As far as the rays shooting down to the earth. Many of y'all paid attention to the men in these trucks with the cross symbol. How many of them? How many are there? It's 8 of them. See? Everything dealing with this 8, the power of 8, code 8. Because this 8 identify with, in connection to the Beatz of Pisces, which forms into that 8 light Christ symbol. Is identified as a Christ symbol, but the power of 8 is powerful. Boy, they some cold memory jammers.
That's in plain sight. Now, I suggest you go back and rewatch E.T. Why do you think they kept showing the lower region of this man and the light illuminating at his lower region? The phallus, with the key jingling at the phallus. This is to talk about this one in question. Why would E.T. run away from this key sound? It's to identify with the connection to the one who is the key, one's abilities, one's gift to the age realms. It's cold talking. I told you it's futuristic, and if you've been paying attention to my signs that I've been breaking down to you, Hollywood has always been tapped into the future. They've been aware of what's to come because you're not dealing with humans, you're dealing with beings from different planets. But if you go back, you're going to notice they keep showing the light illuminated at the groin area of the phallus and this key, because I happen to be the key. And a lot of you are.
Yeah. See, you have to pay attention because everything is dealing with signs for the conscious mind. Remember, they showed 8 men, right? And then after they show 8 men, they go to Elliot and them at the table. And then it go to 5. Oh, great. Because it's 5 people at the table. Well, and then Elliot across, but 5 visible. You see? And then notice it's in a pyramidal formation. With Elliot at the top of the pyramid with the illuminated lamp by him. And then of course we see the light over the head, that circle of disc, in connection to the spacecraft that levitated into the sky. Y'all might have to go back to watching E.T. because it's deep, it's coded. Yeah, still capitalizing on this right here because the 8 people and the 5 kids being 13 and 1 and 3 equal 4 is the reason why 4 is at the circular table. You say 5, right? Because they roll the dice. And guess what? Next to the signs of the dice that they roll on 5, because it's 5 there. But you see these colors of red and blue coded to identify with something. If you know, you know. But we already know that red and blue color identify with Superman. Okay? But
my attention that the reason why we see the colors red and blue because the word coke is the same meaning for the word cloak, but the L is hidden because we're referring to Elliot. Elliot. We're referring to this this demigod like kid, right? Because the coke is facing towards the red and the blue with his hands to identify us in the direction which is cloaked. See, when you remove the L from cloak, CLOAK, you get coke. And you look at coke is COKE, which is coke and coke.
To bring your attention is they start off at the table playing Dungeons and Dragons like Stranger Things. Notice the similarities and connections to Stranger Things. It has its connection to Elliot and E.T. That's why you'll notice that the girl kind of resembles, in a sense, to that scene with them on the bicycle, to that girl in Stranger Things levitating the van over the head on bicycles. So you could tell that they were really influenced by extraterrestrial ET. But how many of y'all paid attention that the girl name, remember, is 11. Her name is L. His name is Elliot. But none of y'all, or have you, paid attention that when 11 was in the supermarket, they showed you the initial in the name, well, the initials of someone named in the supermarket to identify, well, who this person really is.
May the gods curse me if I lie. Ironically, even in the movie Stranger Things series, everybody who know me, even my queens and past relationships, they always know that I love me some pancakes. I call them panty cakes. But 11, she loves waffles. The initial that's shown when he say, is your father or mother here? And look what the initials they show. They show D-A. That's my initials. If you know, you know.
Yay. What caught my attention is, man, when you zoom in, you'll notice that on that bottle, they're going to emphasize by showing the detail here. Because I don't think it's by mistake, everything by reason. They got a letter D, and they got E.T. letters. E.T. up under the letter D. And I figured this is important because this boy is crossing over, doing the ET symbol before ET even did with the one finger, right? And that same thing that he did with Elliot. Notice, just like in the movie Omens, it had that same triangular like spear when it was Damien's birthday, and they had like that silver space craft that's supposed to be a Ferris wheel over his head. This same thing is being shown to identify with the connection and crossing over, and their color red and blue. They put it here, right there, and it's as if breaching and crossing over, connecting to the woman. You see, this is an old movie dealing in the 80s, right? But it's futuristic about someone having the abilities, who's connected to this bloodline, who have the ability to cross over. I find it ironic that they showing the number 333, 3 lights overhead, the 3 paintings up under it, and then the other 3 paintings up under it, 333. You see, when you're dealing with beings from different planet and time traveling technology. And these forces know that speaking through me and to me and allowing me to break down these codes and these jewels that's placed in plain sight. You see? First they show her reaching for a circular plate. You see? Like it to that circular disc. And then they show this circular disc-like thing over his head. He pointed, then he pointed. You tell him, man, stop, man. You better not touch my mama. You'll notice it's 2 o'clock on this clock, right? And it's color-coded. As we can see the colors illuminating black and silver at 2 o'clock. Because this 2 and the L that's showing in the big hand, a little hand, pointing towards the 2. Because you're going to notice we're going to go from the dog to Elliot being on the top bunk and the dog being on the bottom bunk. Because we're talking about this dog being likened to Anubis, the dog of the underworld. Because that's what Anubis is. And it's golden, like the golden child, the golden retriever. Watch. Have the volume down. Check it out. Look. It's going to go from the dog. They emphasize that the dog is up under Elliot, identifying with the god of the underworld. Because dog spelled backwards is God. And then they're going to show Elliot. See? Whatever it is calling Elliot outside. But notice, just like in Stranger Things. Look at that. A baseball bat right in front of Elliot. Just like that baseball bat that was by that portal to identify with the phallus entering into that portal. And the man laying on the ground and the girl on top of him. See? And then they go towards, you can see that the X is on the shack. The X chromosome.
Notice, just like Batteries Not Included, you have to go watch the full part 1, part 2, and part 3 of Batteries Not Included, Decoded. The same thing that was in E.T. Extraterrestrial with the boy in the bat from Strange Things, as I stated, but it all comes together. And the shack identifying with the same thing that's identified with Batteries Not Included, with the shack, the shed, illuminating and glowing. Man, I can't make this up. And you will see the Y chromosome on the back of who I identify was likened to be the father of those extraterrestrial babies, because it was him who grafted after the spaceship baby died. He manufactured it. If you know, you know. You gotta watch it. And then on the shack, just like they showing the Y chromosome here, in E.T., they showing the X on the side of it. Man, from the gods through the gods, it's not me, it's the ancient ones who speak through me to reveal these things for me to see and reveal.
The wonder. This is why we see the X there. See? This is why we see the X with the illuminated opening of that portal that's open under the moonlight. See?